Hi everyone and welcome to your horoscope for the week of June the 27th, July the 3rd, 2022. We have a really active and emotionally speaking super tense sky because there is a lot of psychological energy and also with a strong spiritual side influencing us next week, but it's not really next week because next week is just the opening week, the opening tune for a period that is going to stay with us for some time now. But the opening is actually quite intense. So perhaps after the opening, the energies, the intensity of it, especially emotionally or spiritually speaking, may die down, especially the not so favorable part of it. But at the beginning, we do get a good taste of the not so favorable part of it. And this is where there is a lot of energy at play in water signs, and especially in heavily psychological parts of the water signs. So, first of all, Neptune this week is going to go retrograde. So, it is standing still in the sky, preparing to turn inwards. And of course, we do have Neptune retrograde every year, okay? But in 2022, this is extra special with the good and bad. Now, if you remember back in April, perhaps March, April, and May, because the Neptune and Jupiter conjunction was a very intense energy that was not on the day. It was really, really extended. And we might have had a lot of dreams, a lot of inspiration, a lot of faith energy, almost like invading our lives, inviting us to be stronger than ever in our faith, in our spirituality, in our artistic goals, in our creative goals, in our healing goals. So everything that has to do with the Neptunian sphere, and also there was a lot of urge to, be very, very careful what we believe, especially the news out there and what's going on the world stage and stuff like that. Now, around that time, that energy was extremely dynamic and active, and now that is turning inwards, including the symbolism, including whatever happened at those degrees of Pisces, because it's Neptune, it's Jupiter, and Venus was there, and Mars was there, and Mercury was there. Every powerful planet was there, so it's not just Neptune turning inwards, it's all of that. And this immediately means we need to have a different and more profound understanding of all of that. And that may seem to us as a powerful disillusioning, as our faith being questioned, but very, very strongly. Also, at this time, Jupiter is squaring the Sun. The Sun in Cancer, our emotional world, but also our emotional security, even physical security, everything that makes us safe, our place in the world. So it's not just family and emotions and stuff like that, the superficial expression, ethnicity, borders, where it is that we want to live, how we want to live, our physical homes. So that's Cancer, and Black Moon Lilith is there, so these are topics. Do we really feel safe? What triggers us? What is our aspiration? What is our goal? Emotionally speaking, what makes us happy? Who makes us happy? Is our family doing enough to make us happy? Vice versa. Are we doing enough for our family? So, this is a lot of unconscious energy that pops to the surface, and it doesn't matter how your real situation is, because maybe you have a very happy and stable family life and everyone's doing more than enough. This doesn't necessarily have to be all that real. Neptune turning inwards, Neptune standing still in the sky at the time of a new moon. So let's not begin a dark chapter. Because new moon, a beginning, emotional world, security, ethnicity, borders. Black moon Lilith, with a new moon. Do we truly want to move? Why not a new beginning in Cancer? Moving. wanting to move, not necessarily moving there and then. The idea, the inspiration of moving comes to you. Okay, but analyze that. Because are you wanting, desiring, needing to move, or are you just running away? Or are you just pressing the reset button after a recent reset? So don't let the emotional insecurity trick you. Fear is only in the mind, but it's taking over all the time, little by little, possessing us. We must not allow these fears, not bury them, not fight them, but that means confrontation. That means allowing them to say their part. Like, you must ask the fear, what is your purpose? And it will tell you. It will be honest with you. Only it is when you wanna guess when the dishonesty occurs. When you ask it straight face on, look, fear, why are you in my mind? What do you want? If it's not your fear, if it's projected fear, it will reveal itself very quickly. So let's be very, very brave this week, including spiritually, facing darkness, facing disbelief, facing doubts, facing different religions. There might be influences coming in your life from different religions where you see the truth, but you also see a limitation. Saturn, as we also see Saturn. So that might send you in a spiritual confusion, but you shouldn't be doing that. You just should be taking the element, whatever inspired you from the religion, the path, the master, or whatever it is that you heard something very inspirational from, and leaving the rest. Being eclectic. Well, Neptune is in a mutable water sign of Pisces, the sign of spirituality. So actually it's eclectic by nature. Another sign, Sagittarius, which can do with religion, is mutable, so eclectic by nature. Perhaps it is not necessarily the true nature of spirituality which makes it more rigid. It's only Capricorn, Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. And Pluto is also very activated this week. And I'm going to be speaking about that a little bit later on, but first Neptune. Now, on the world stage, this will be as disillusioning. We're used to this, but it's gonna be very, very intense because it's conflictual, it's scary, it's fear-based, it's manipulative-based, it's like psychological warfare. Now, if there is a world war going on right now, it's not physical, it's actually the psychological part. So it's not in matter. And this is where we're all victims, we're all in a psychological holocaust because we cannot trust anything, not even ourselves. The only thing that we can trust right now is the divine, but the opposite of divine is also making sure that it's all over the internet, in our lives, on the news, on the TV. So you can imagine that it's not an easy period for any of us. So don't judge yourself. Whatever it is that you do, don't judge yourself and don't give in to fear. And this is something I have to very, very, very much insist on. Neptune going retrograde is a very strong energy shift, especially for introverts, especially for spiritualists, everyone who works with the human element, everyone who works with people, for artists and for highly sensitive people and empaths. So this is gonna be hard. Prepare yourself and what you can do to turn the tide, because this can also be a beautiful energy. Rest, sleep, taking care of yourself, being kind to yourself, being stubborn in the way of self-care, as in no, stubborn. I know what is good for me and I'm gonna stick to that, and I'm not gonna allow distractions and other people's needs to get to me all that much. And this is where Neptune is demanding sacred solitude. Neptune is demanding a lot of introversion, introspection, going within in any way, shape, and form. But we are not out of an introspection. with the Neptune and Jupiter conjunction. So this is where it's introspection, but we're still in an introspection. So what does that mean? Going to the depths, going to the deepest part of ourselves, like it or not. So being sucked into a whirlpool. Neptune, the ocean. Neptune, water. Neptune, infinite depths. The whirlpool right now, we are being sucked into it. Let's prepare ourselves. You know, it is intense for spiritualist empaths, introverts, and stuff like that, okay? But imagine if you're not an introvert and you got sucked into the whirlpool. You're done with. So at least you know how to swim. You've done this before. It's hard, but the kind of hardship which you're a warrior of psyche, of the spirit, you faced your shadow and your vulnerability. Every day of your life was the big deal. But for those who are not used to this, extroverts, for those it's such a big deal that it's not you who's getting the really strong end of it. Because for you it can last a week. After Neptune is retrograde, you get used to it immediately. What's the big deal? This is where you're just selective of who you are friends with. You choose solitude even if it hurts you. Because those of you those of us who are seeking love, well, you can imagine that this is not a good news. This is doom and gloom news for the mind, for the ego, because, well, that means that chances are that my chances to find someone are next to zero until 3rd of December. So it's bad. It's scary. It's scary in that sense. In matter of love, it's scary. But this is where I'm telling you it's an illusion. It's not scary. Maybe mathematic fear is only in the mind. Maybe mathematically your chances decrease a little bit because you won't socialize as much. Let's be honest with each other. This is what your mind is thinking about. If I don't allow as many people into my life, what are my chances? So you fear solitude, but you know that that's the only medicine. So you love it as well. So this might be driving you a little bit insane. But no, this is the illusion part of it. This is the Neptune's illusion, because the bad expression of Neptune being so intense, being that much closer to the earth physically, is fear being way too over the top. Like, it's not necessary to be on those levels. This is where there's a saying in my culture that you project from a mosquito, you turn it into a horse. As in, you expand the fear so much that it becomes something it really isn't. So don't do that. Whenever the mathematical chances decrease, the spiritual power, Neptune turning inwards, increases. The divine power is more at play than ever inside of you. And when Neptune turns retrograde, that's the best period for you. It's weird, it's hard, it's melancholic, it's childhood coming back, whatever. Yes, that's part of the deal. But you're unconscious, the divine part of it, you have to do that much little. You don't need to do much. You don't even need to do much inner work, really. So it's not up to you, that's good. Because you can focus on real life projects, money, what I want to do, like with my schedule, what I want to do with the Virgo stuff. Then Neptune says, let me boil within you, let me, boil in your own juices, but that's good for introverts, because the juices are sweet, it's honey, you get your own goodness, the harvest time, but you're the main beneficiary of your own honey, you know what I mean? So see it that way, don't see it the bad way, so that is good. But that gives you a lot of intention, focus, free time to do the average day stuff. Your schedule, your detox, your physical health, cutting out bad habits, not using escapism that much, tuning down substances. So that's what you do when Neptune goes retrograde. because the rest is more on autopilot. Even spiritual, that's your blessing. For other people, not as much, because that's when their own juices are not sweet. So you can imagine the toxicity of it. Neptune and the scorpionic deacon of Pisces, that's what it does. But for introverts, it's good. The fact that it's not good, it's an illusion. And where I want to go with this, so don't expand the fear. You're still finding the love if that is divinely guided, if that is what you authentically need. You're finding it. Don't worry. Don't panic. Don't fear. It's genuinely gonna be good. It's genuinely gonna be okay. And just face the fear with total faith. Because that's what you've done under the Neptune and Jupiter conjunction. Really built up the universe brought on a silver tray so much evidence in your life that you are doing it. So don't fail now. You saw it. You experienced it. You know it's real. You know that you're divinely helped. So don't be afraid. But the fear and the cure is sleeping, but some people suffer from anxiety, and sleeping might be a bit difficult at the beginning of the Neptune retrograde season. For other people, on the other hand, it's gonna be hibernation time. So, depending on your configuration, be sure to help yourself rest and sleep. So that means if you are inclined to it, wake up. Don't let sleep drown you. If you cannot sleep, then try and get help somehow. And we might also be experiencing severe fatigue and irritability, emotional irritability under Neptune going inwards, and with also Cancerian activity, Sun in Cancer and squaring Jupiter. Sun squaring Jupiter is a very, very big deal this week because we might have to fight. Of course, not physically, but on the world stage, this energy also activates Sun in Cancer and Jupiter in the sign of Aries, activates the world stage, public eye, whatever goes on outside. And that means that, there is going to be a lot in the news, there is going to be a lot of civil activity, civil movements in the court of justice. Why? Because Jupiter rules justice in local communities, so it's gonna be there's a massive disruption everywhere, so it's not gonna be easy, and there's gonna be a lot of political activity in the world out there because Pluto squaring Mars, militaristic action, violence, protest, misuse of power, corruption, political corruption, the individual versus centralized power, rebellion, uprising, protests. So we have to expect that this is ongoing, but we must not at all make that part of our reality because we have a lot going on our plate as well. Because our own fight, Mein Kampf, we have to fight for Sun in Cancer, our families, our security, our livelihood, our emotional needs, our self-care. We must not allow other people to get in our way. We need our energy for ourselves right now, but at the same time our family and loved ones and our mission, Jupiter in the sign of Aries, our life mission, life path. It's not 10th house, no, but isn't it the sign of Aries, the head, where we finally move to the right direction, like the ram. So yes, it's Aries where we make important moves, time for action. So it's not easy because we're doing stuff for our life path, for our missions, for our new beginnings, new projects, new everything. Jupiter in the sign of Aries, and we know that the new is blessed now. We know that the new is fortunate. Being brave is fortunate. Being brave and standing up for ourselves is what we should do. But where do we get the energy for it? The energetic part is difficult, and still we have to fight. But we must make sure that we don't fight with violence, because Mars, the ruling planet of Aries, makes very important key moves, and that for some people can mean violence, a lot of violence. and we must make sure that that does not play out in our lives, not even mentally, not even wishing other people, just mentally, not saying it even out. Let's not wish. Let's not wish harm. Let's not make not good commitments, as in promises, and let's make sure that we are good team players right now, including when the team player is us and the divine. Let's keep it pure, let's keep it honest, let's keep it diligent, let's just rule ourselves. More than self discipline is going to be very hard, because triggers, because conflict, because you are irritable as well in any way, shape, and form. Religious conflict, religious battles, so much can happen from this, ideological battles. So we must really, really make sure not to get into conflict. Really. And conflict should be just standing up for ourselves. Conflict is going to be all around us. Eris, Mars conjunct Eris squaring Pluto. That's not going to be easy, but this is where, we have to use the strength of faith to not make that our reality, to choose differently. And Neptune with the rest can be good. And this is where you just tell everyone around you, I'm done with, I don't have energy, I'm not well, let me rest, and just turn off the phone. Even if it's a soulmate, even if it's whoever, they have to accept it, because you have to do this for yourself. If you know that you're a person who gets triggered, stay out of conflict. Solitude. It's that easy. This is 2022, a very karmic year. So karma and the divine mechanism, how it plays out, how it manifests. If those of you who are knowledgeable in what I'm about to say, how the energy, how the manifestation enters Malkut, or how you pronounce it, well, it's not the way it was or supposed to be. It's instant, it's intense, it leaves no space for errors and for child play. You have to be sure of yourself. Your faith has to be pure. When you manifest something, it's not the way we used to do. If we are mistaking, if we are affected by vanity or the devils and the details in such ways, if we don't know what we're wishing, what we're wanting, what we're fighting for truly in its truest essence, then it's bad. If we do know, then we have to this time choose to stick to it, choose to be stubborn, to choose us, to choose our truth, to choose our authenticity. Everything around us will try to make us double think, to double guess, to doubt, to think that we have been wrong all this. No. You have to be true to your faith, to your innocence. Something that is aggressively trying to invade your life and it produces fear, it's not divine guidance. That's the opposite. It tries to mimic the divine. The divine is gentle or very strict, never in between. When the divine is strict, you're not afraid, you acknowledge, you say, okay, I get the message. Maybe you're in hospital and you're not afraid because you get the yes, I'm gonna detox as soon as I get out of here. Yes, I'm gonna hold my promise that I made to you. If you give me this and that or help me in this and that, I'm gonna do this and that. When the divine is strict with us, we don't fear at all. We that is the reality check, the sad reality check. Yes, I'm gonna quit smoking. Yes, I'm gonna exit relationship. I'm gonna terminate this friendship because I tolerated it more than enough. I'm just tolerating it out of comfort or fear, not of the confrontation. That is when the divine is strict. When the divine is trying to act with fear, that's not divine. That's the opposite of divine, mimicking the divine. Let's be clear with this. So this is why we have to tune down our own fears as much as possible this week. But there is a lot of good in the sky because Jupiter squaring the sun. This doesn't need to be all that bad. This can be, I'm finally moving. I'm finally getting out of my comfort zone. I'm finally leaving the family home because Black Moon Lilith can make you want to stay. Yes, you have figured it. Mercury trine Saturn. Now that's very, very important because this is where Mercury, the mind, in Gemini, very powerful. Communication, Saturn, you made the decision and you communicate. Yes, I'm leaving home. Yes, I'm doing this for myself. Yes, I'm changing my lifestyle. Yes, 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 this, and you communicate it, and other people have no choice but to accept. This can also be a trine. Another person offered to help you, and you said no, thank you, and this other person comes and just helps you and says, listen, you don't owe me anything, just accept this. I'm doing this for you, shut up and take it. Saturn can be a little bit strict, but it's a helpfulness. You know that what you need to do. So use this blessing. And chances are Mars squaring Pluto, Mars sextiling Saturn. Strong choices need to be enforced starting from next week, even if just mentally, even if you being steady, you not waning, you not double guessing, you not chickening out from your own decisions and choices. This is where when you started it, like detox, like a diet. It doesn't have to be very philosophical, but it can be also very philosophical. Finally being sure of yourself, mastering yourself, and owning your schedule and your time. This is how much you allocate for other people and nothing. No, even if the other people beg on their you will not back away. You will be strict. I need time for myself, so leave me alone. And Mars squaring Pluto, you challenge an authority. And Mars is helped by Eris. So this can at the very end of the week, this will be active. This can also be very, very challenging because you feel powerless and you still have to choose to show power. Pluto squaring Mars can represent powerlessness, feeling overwhelmed, a boss, a very bossy friend challenging you, a bossy someone. You saying no. This is where no. And that can be very, very heavy. That can be fearful, but it will be unavoidable. You need to stand up for yourself and yes, accept the consequences. This is where friendships with benefits end. Because you will wake up to the fact that, well, you know what? I really don't need anything from that person. Really? I don't need it. It's that person making me believe or feel that I need them, but I don't need them. I don't need them. I'm okay by myself. I'm more okay without them, actually. So this is the way this week is gonna act. Mercury sextiling Mars. You need to speak it. You need to speak your truth. Mercury sextiling Saturn. Work, effort, anything that has to do with investing energy bears fruit, goes a long way. Helping friends, people unconditionally, being generous, helping, being humanitarian, being merciful, being kind, being compassionate, being strong for others helps. It helps spiritually, it helps karmically, it helps in any way, shape, and form. So, all of that is highly encouraged. Helping, reaching out, not to receive help, but to offer help. And to receive help, this is when you need help, you will have no choice but to reach out. So, that's why I said not necessarily asking for help, because if you need help, this is one of those weeks where you have no choice, so of course you will need to ask for help. But Jupiter also sextiles Venus, and Jupiter is the great benefic, Venus is the lower benefic. This can be very fruit bearing, friendship wise, meeting new people wise, new connection wise, fated connection wise, your light reaching other people wise, for all artists, writers, communicators, public speakers. This energy bears a lot of fruit in matters of internet, multimedia, social media, multimedia, ultimately, yes. Creativity, intellectual creativity, design, all of that. So use this energy if you're an artist, if you're a public speaker, if you have any work to publish, book to write, etc., etc. This is a good energy to invest work in. But it emotionally is going to be very hard, especially with the new moon in Cancer, which I haven't spoken about in great detail because I have a video dedicated to this. It's going to be triggering. So make sure that this new beginning of yours, it's not a dark one. It's your responsibility. Use Neptune well. And what else would I like to speak about? Um, Also, that the Mars and Pluto square can represent a lot of fearful manifestations out in the world. So don't make it part of your reality. It's outside, it's happening. It is what it is. What the best thing we can do is generate love, not allow that to drown us. Neptune in Pisces gives us the chance to be a divine source for inspiration and something highly positive for compassion, and the opposite of fear with gentleness, the Christ consciousness. We have to tune into the Christ consciousness, into the compassion. That is how we counter it. We are living portals to compassion. We need to allow the divine to work through us, especially this week, because that's how we counter the fear, the fright, everything, all the bad stuff. And also, what another thing that I would need to mention with Neptune retrograde in shadow, be very careful with escapism and substances, and especially if you're diabetic and stuff like that, as well with the hormonal imbalance. So thank you so much for listening. I do hope that you enjoyed it and you found it useful. Again, please make sure that you're a beacon of light and love and not let aggression get in your way. Thank you for listening. Until next time, bye for now.